So just want to do the introduction. So we have Grant Yonge here from the Y, formerly the YMCA, for those people that are not up to speed, which I wasn't till we started looking after you guys. And we also have Philip Meyer from Microsoft. The purpose of today is really to find out for those of you that have got Microsoft 365 licenses, what it really can do for a not-for-profit. And that's why we asked Grant to come onto this call to be able to give us firsthand his experience of where they were, where they are now, where they hope to be going using the product. So I think I'll just hand straight over to you, Grant, and we will start from there.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for the introduction, and pleasure to be here today supporting the conversation. So a little bit about us, or me specifically. At the moment, I'm part of the exec team here at the Y in WA. My portfolio is Organisational Impact. It means I look after several things, one of which is our IT portfolio. I'll really openly and transparently say for those that are the audience today that I'm not an IT professional, and that's actually a really important part of our story today. I'm a good customer of IT. I come from a contact centre management background, but certainly our journey in terms of the not-for-profit we are and the skills that I apply to that's actually a really important part of I guess our journey and our lessons that I put forward for you today. A little bit about the Y. We've been around for a few years. I think globally the Y as a movement's been around since 1844. So we've got a bit of heritage there. We're famous for lots of things. One of them is inventing the game of basketball, but we're significantly much more than that. Here in WA, the Y's been around since about 1908. So we've been dedicated to helping young people in Perth and the broader WA community since 1908. And we're super proud and honoured to have the legacy that gives us, and I guess the remit to continue that and keep it moving forward. These days, the Y that we talk about will be quite different to that that perhaps many here might have grown up with here in Perth. We are still very much about young people. In fact, we have an uber focus on young people these days. Back in the old days, that would have been much more about where young boys go on a Saturday morning into Murray Street in the city to participate in physical education and go on camps to Rottnest and Stoneville and other places. And our activations are different, but what sat behind those particular things as we all grew up and still sits behind what we do today is an absolute belief that empowered and inspired young people are our future, and that the work you do very early on in a young person's life is what makes the difference. Strategically, the way we talk about that in the modern context is we would say that our DNA very much manifests itself in making sure that we can deliver human flourishing outcomes for young people. More broadly and quite specifically in the last few years, we would talk about the fact that we do that in an educational setting or in and around educational settings. Some of you may know us as an operator of childcare services and before and after school care services at your children's school. That's definitely one of the educational settings that we operate in. We're about to go to market or to start promoting a school readiness program through our early learning centres that really focuses on the conditions for pre-literacy, pre-numeracy and some behavioural outcomes that are really important platforms for a young person's educational journey. So that's an example of how we would focus on flourishing outcomes. At the other end of that spectrum, we're 2 years into running an alternative education model for schooling, a care school, if you like. So we have nearly 80 kids enrolled in a school in Mirrabooka that focuses very specifically on education, but has a cohort of kids that have either disengaged or been booted out of the traditional education system because it doesn't work for them or vice versa. So again, we would look at that and say, we can bring in expertise to deliver curriculum. That's part of our story. The real part of our story is the flourishing part in and around that. We've got really strong capability in terms of case management, youth work, and some other, I guess, some soft skills in and around that we can really apply within an educational setting and really set young people up to succeed where perhaps they haven't had the best start in life. We run other programs. You probably know us, and we're a little bit famous for running a youth parliament program over the winter break in Parliament House every year. So young people coming in from all over the state and participate in the leadership program where they learn how to debate and to design bills and to advocate for those bills in Parliament. And really proud to say that many bills that have passed through actual state Parliament started in youth Parliament over the years, and that's something that we'll continue to do for many years to come. I guess the real story for this conversation for today, though, is that we, like perhaps many of you in the on the call or in the Teams room, if you like, are your average not-for-profit. We probably started from humble beginnings. We perhaps have underinvested in technology in particular. Our IT as a platform, like most not-for-profits have over some period of time, because A, we don't understand it, B, we don't have the funds for it, and we'd rather do things that involve, you know, getting outcomes for young people. And we just, you know, we're not good enough to have good IT. Certainly our journey has changed. You know, certainly the pandemic, among other things, was a real wake-up call for us to say, not only are we strategically repositioning ourselves, but the pandemic really showed our underbelly in terms of our ability to get to a single source of truth of data, our ability to respond rather than just react to what was happening in front of us and feel like we're in control of our destiny. So as we came out of the pandemic, like most not-for-profits, we found ourselves kicking and screaming into a collaborative teams environment. And whilst we've been a 365 client for a while, it was really that experience, if you like, coupled with how we were representing ourselves, that started us thinking about how we might further expand the potential of this 365 not-for-profit licensing product that we have, and how it might be able to do much, much for us. I'm really upfront that we haven't solved all of the problems. We're still very much on our journey. We've started a conversation about digital transformation, if you like, that has some principles set in making sure all of our systems are integrated. Super proud to say that we do have a data analytics platform now, and that sits within the 365 suite. We're using an Azure data factory with minimal resource internally to really drive our source of truth, but more importantly, drive the cultural change around data-driven decision making. And 365 has been a really agile way for us to go about that. Our first attempt at that was to put a proposal in front of our board that had a multi-million-dollar price tag on it, which wasn't well received. The ability to be able to come back 12 months later and go, there's a way we can do that through our existing 365 platform and do it in a much more sustainable and economical way, that's really got us traction. We have some aspirations in terms of our people. Whilst we're about flourishing outcomes for young people, we also really believe that we want flourishing outcomes for our staff and our team. We've got 550 of them. Many of them are casual workers. We give them at the moment, I'm almost embarrassed to say it, a basic license, not to give them an email address, but just so that we've got some sort of identity for them, that we can push them to an intranet site that we know they never go to in order to get comms and information and feel connected to the organisation. So again, we look to Philip and the Microsoft team and Solutions IT more specifically to say, tell us how we can solve some of these issues and challenges that we have around presenting our staff and teams with not only good process, but good insight into what's going on in the organisation that's around them. You know, so we look at Power Automate, we look at a team's front end, we look at how do our people start their day and how are they experiencing something that helps them feel connected to their shift, connected to their work environment, and definitely connected to the organisation that they work for that's got a pretty cool history and is a great place to work. I feel like that's a really big and broad intro, so I'm going to pause for a moment and go, Sarah, how did I go with that?
That was great. I've just got a couple of questions for you that just, I guess, for the people listening. So from my understanding is that you felt a little bit overwhelmed as to where to start with all the different aspects of the license. And then I guess that's when you partnered with us and we kind of guided you step by step. There was some work that we did with cybersecurity and identity management and identifying the source of truth. Can you talk us through a little bit about that?
Yeah, so cybersecurity is a hot topic for everyone. I absolutely get that and understand. There's probably some people on the call that I sit on a working group in other places maybe. It's everybody's hot topic. I think one of the things that Solutions IT did through the Microsoft suite really, really quickly, Steve's on the call, Steve's our account manager here. When he and I sit down once a month, the first thing that we'll look at is our Microsoft security score. And again, I'm not an IT professional, so it's not to get down into the semantics of what activation we're going to turn on or how we can strengthen our security. The real value for us as an organisation, or for me personally, is to be able to look at that score and go, have we gone up and down, and what are the things that we can do that shores that up? So that gives me a great sense of personal comfort. It gives this organisation and our board a great sense of comfort that when it comes to cybersecurity, we're not just at the mercy of either those that are choosing to attack or the insurance companies that wear all of the risk in their own mind. and therefore apply premiums to us and instill a set of principles that say you should be this, you should be that, you need Essential 8, you need to comply with the SIS standards. We haven't seen enough of this. That simple act of us being able to look at a Microsoft security score and be able to make some practical decisions about what more we can do puts us, not fully, but we feel like we're back in the driving seat and we're back in control of our cybersecurity in a proactive way rather than feel like we're at the mercy of others. That's been really important. So that's a good part of the journey. We, like lots of not-for-profits, it's not that long ago that we were 100% paper-based. So just streamlining in terms of what Power Apps can do for us. Microsoft Forms, we've actually got some competing product from Microsoft Forms at the moment that we're really keen to get away from so that we can administer ourselves and improve workflow rather than make it more difficult. All of that's possible because we sit down and we talk broadly about how are we making best, or how are we getting best value out of this license that we've got. And I have to say every day I'm surprised by what sort of functionalities there that we've already got access to without having to build a business case for.
That's great. Is there anything you want to say about identity management on top of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So identity management's a live piece of work for us at the moment. We have that. And again, I'm being really transparent, and I'm sure it's a Chatham House rules, not that it matters really, Sarah. I'm sure we're not the only organisation that says if we really think we've got a handle on our identity, we're kidding ourselves. So one of the pieces of work that Solutions IT are helping with at the moment, again within the 365 suite, is just applying a provisioning engine in Entra ID that absolutely gives us control. We've known for some time that we've got an Active Directory, but it's sitting there like a dumb waiter because it's not getting any real specific instruction for anyone. And it just becomes that endpoint of a whole bunch of manual process that happens in our HR onboarding team and our offboarding and all of the stuff that's associated with that. So I'm sure Steve's camera's turned off, but I'm sure he'd be nodding furiously going, if I never had to participate in another workflow like that, and that just happened automatically for us. We're both looking forward to celebrating that day at some time soon. And I have to say, sitting around the exec table and championing a piece of work like that is an absolute baseline for us. That again is just a license add-on to 365. My colleagues at the exec table are just, I don't say this often about IT projects, but giddy with excitement about what that's going to do for us in terms of efficiency and improved workflow and just that satisfaction that we've got some identity stuff nailed in the back end.
Thank you so much, Grant. I think that's just kind of summed everything up, really around the cybersecurity and the identity management, and also talking about the support that we've given you in the regular meetings with our lovely Steve, who's on the call, to help understand where the organisation is at. I think at this point, we'll just hand over to Phil, because Phil is the guru in all things M365, to really just flesh out what it is that NFPs have got within their license and how best to utilise it.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks everybody for taking some time out from lunch or just post lunch in the West. I'm over here on the East, looking forward to dinner shortly, flying up to Queensland to see my mum, which is good. Look, for non-profits, not-for-profits, please do appreciate that we do provide you with a lot for either nothing or very low cost. And the entry point for that, as many of you know, would be just going to microsoft.com/nonprofit and making the application there to be recognised as a nonprofit by Microsoft. And then you can enjoy what we give you for free, and then go to our partners like Solution IT to top that up at discounted fees. Look, I'm very respectful of the fact that some organisations perceive themselves as nonprofit, and I'm sorry if anyone on the call may not have that status recognised by us at this stage. So yes, is there anybody in that category, thumbs up or thumbs down, to show that you are a non-profit and recognised by Microsoft? Maybe show me that you are recognised by us and you've been to that site with a thumbs up. With the react button at the top of the screen. Yep, Grant's got the thumbs up. Thank you very much. Michael, Cecilia, Jenny, you got thumbs up happening? All right, well, we do provide a lot. In fact, last year we provided to the nonprofit community across the globe $1.9 billion worth of complementary software and services out of our cloud to that community. And as a byline, we're very committed to the nonprofit communities as individuals, employees, And I think the total number was around $220 million donated by individuals of Microsoft towards various nonprofit communities themselves. What else can I say? The details in and around what you do get from Microsoft are on that site that I mentioned a moment ago, microsoft.com/nonprofits. And it does describe a number of products, including Microsoft 365 Business Premium. I think the numbers in and around 15 units of that we give away, and then get discounted rates for the additional staff with the help of Solution IT, and something in the order of $12,000 US of Azure, which is our cloud infrastructure virtual machine platform, and all of our security products that are part of that Microsoft 365 family, which as Grant spoke well about in terms of the importance of, are included. But if I may, it's something that I fear many of us have not activated in our businesses, that it's an area that we provide you and maybe not be utilised to the value that you can obtain from that. Things like conditional access, making sure that your staff are the people they say they are. Grant talked very kindly about Enter ID, and with that, the whole zero trust model that comes with that. Multi-factor authentication to ensure that the staff who are signing on, whether they're staff or volunteer staff, have the credentials to access your precious resources that sit inside your organisation, are who they say they are. And then the classification of the information. Please, Sarah, give me a warning sign if I do wax on, because I can wax on this topic for a while. But I've had some very disturbing experiences in the last week. I might start with the broader conversation around ChatGPT and something that disturbs me about ChatGPT. We love ChatGPT, don't get me wrong. It runs on Azure. It's one of the great big resources that sits on Azure. The Microsoft Cloud is ChatGPT. But one of the fears of ChatGPT, it is very much an individual service. It's a personal service. It's a service for helping you to write poems, to create stories, to find information. But it can also tell you lies. It can make up things. And anything you put into it becomes available to everybody else. So if you're doing anything with respect to your volunteers, to your donors, to your own staff, be very careful about using ChatGPT. So for holiday planning, great. For writing poems for my wife because it's her birthday on Saturday, great. But I'm not going to do any financial planning in it, and certainly not doing any business work within the world of ChatGPT. Again, I'll close by saying I love ChatGPT. But there is a better model, a model that's predicated on using the AI that comes from Microsoft, where your data is your data. It's not anybody else's data. It's not able to be used by anybody else because of the security disciplines that are identified within what Grant talked about with Enter ID, that are there around conditional access. Who is it? Where are they accessing? What device are they accessing? And then moreover, the opportunities that come with some of the things, again, within Business Premium around sensitivity labeling. And I might close by giving some horror stories, even with the use of our wonderful Copilot. A week ago, I was meeting with a partner, and they shared that they'd activated Copilot within an independent school, students and teaching body. And a student was able to ask a query within that closed environment. Yes, look, no other organisation could see that school's data because they were using our platform. But a student was able to ask, what's the salary of all the teaching staff? Because they hadn't put the guardrails in between teaching body and student body. Now think of that in a non-profit context. That's almost like one of your volunteers with complete access to your environment being saying, tell me all the stakeholders and all the people within inside the organisation that are seeking help from this particular organisation such as yours. Tell me what the funds are or what the policies are of this non-profit organisation, when sometimes that's pretty private to your organisation. So I encourage you to think about those guardrails. And one that was more disturbing was one that I got 2 days ago, where it was deployed inside a construction company, and a construction worker, please, I'm sorry if this is confronting, I think it's vulgar, that this construction worker asked the system, give me a list of all the female employees under 35 with their mobile phone numbers. And that worker then transmitted that to his mates. Now, we were able to pick that up because they had employed one of the security capabilities that we offer, which is called data loss prevention, shorthand DLP. And it's something you've got available to you under your Microsoft 365 subscription. But what they had failed to activate was sensitivity labeling and data classification to prevent the construction worker seeing HR data that existed in their platform. So yeah, it's two very, we've got great technology to secure it, but in this case they hadn't activated, and so hence I call on you to work with the Solution IT team to activate these principles in your organisation before you enjoy the incredible productivity that can and be realised by all the co-pilots that are in Microsoft 365. Sarah, I've waxed on there probably for about 7 or 8 minutes.
No, that's great. That's is there anything that you want to point out? I guess you might be seeing some trends with NFPs that they've got the license and these are the areas that they're not utilising, other than Copilot, of course, that you think would be of interest for them to talk to us about?
Very much those security elements around enabling data loss prevention, because they're working with important confidential information around the stakeholders that they're providing care, the homeless, the children, the aged care communities. You don't want that with their private information about blood types or age or dates of birth and mobile phone numbers leaking. So implementing simple things like data loss prevention, implementing things like sensitivity labeling, which is saying that this document is only able to be accessed by the leadership team of the nonprofit, or this particular set of documents is available to the volunteer community. And this particular policy document is available to everybody. But getting that classification in place is an important step. I'm not sure if everybody on the call has actually seen what a Copilot is. I came up with this comment the other day at an event. Microsoft has got more Copilots than Qantas now. We've got Copilots for Word, Excel, for Teams. As I mentioned at the beginning of the call, the Teams Copilot is just mesmerizing in the way in which you can press a button to recap a meeting. You can press a button to identify the tension, the sentiment, because it understands things like sentiment. It understands emotion in my tone of voice, by what I write, by what I say. It's got that ability to then give me transcripted conversions of my language, my conversation, into a textual representation inside something like Teams. Look, if we had time, I'd love to play some videos. Maybe I can put in the chat window a link to some videos that the attendees can go and watch later on.
Or send it to me, because we'll send out an email with to everybody with this recording as well. So yeah, okay. I guess from our perspective, and it isn't. We deal with a number of NFPs and small businesses that are, or small to medium businesses that are using M365, and for us, it's really about tailoring a solution to meet each organizational need, and what that technology needs to deliver. It's very important to us as well. So this is Grant's story, and we do a lot of work with the Y. We also look after quite a bit for them, but for each business that we do, it can be small, medium, or large, whether or not we take on the whole IT network and what comes with that, or if it's just helping to onboard NFPs with the license. The final piece that I think we might be important is around the people and people inside your organizations. And when we're talking about security, it's really important that we've got the layer of security with the technology that we're delivering, but it doesn't stop there. And Grant, I might just call on you just to have a quick chat about what we've been doing with you guys around that.
Yeah, we've probably got several examples we could talk about, Sarah, but I think at a site that Steve knows well, I was down on site at one of our recreation centres yesterday, talking to the team about the IDAM, like the identity management changes that are coming. I think what we value the whole way through, we take as I mentioned before, we really focus on having a people-centered approach, both the experience we're delivering for our young people, their families, and our customers, so to speak. But more specifically in this instance, very much about our staff and how they actually get to deliver on experiences. So a little bit of process, a little bit of cyber in this example, but we've got a team down there that work really hard and find themselves jumping in and out of different identities like inquiries at or customer service at or bookings at. Despite the significant risk in terms of the opportunity for bad actors and the cyber risk we carry by not having control of a particular actor, having several people in there not knowing who's doing what or who else has got access to it. The joy on the faces of our people when we talk them through that and say, well, imagine if you didn't have to do that anymore, and not just from a shared mailbox perspective, but that you can have a team of people who, as a result of the identity piece that we're working through at the moment, get presented with single sign-on opportunities, get presented with the adequate permissions and systems and applications that they need to just do work seamlessly without having to think about who they are or what role they're playing today. Or it's just a really powerful experience for them. And it's certainly, I take a really conscious approach to leading our IT strategy from that perspective. Not just because we're a human services business, it wouldn't matter if we're in a commercial enterprise or what have you. What's most important is that our people will really understand how the technology is working for them. And, I'm not ashamed to say that 2 years ago, our people wouldn't have understood that. They would have seen Microsoft as just something that was, either a necessary part of their day if they work from a desk like most of us that are on this call, or something that just gets in the way of their life if they don't work from a desk and we keep forcing them back there. So it's been a really useful process for us to have the platform with which we talk about transformational change in our systems, and more specifically how we're using 365 to drive that. It's been really powerful and it's been really useful to see our teams engage in it. We haven't even really got to data yet, but I just think one of our journeys on the back end of the pandemic and through, for us, that was a really long tail. We wouldn't be the only organisation here who found that the recruitment crisis really happened 2 years after the pandemic. Some of the operational challenges that gave us, and the inability to put our hands on real data, being able to get down to a single source of truth. I've got a single resource, a single data analytics lead who manages all of our data from all of our disparate systems into an Azure Data Factory instance now, and we can present meaningful and agreed common language dashboards that just absolutely empower our decision making. And again, we're just using stuff that comes out of the box in 365. We spent a little bit on an Azure license and the architecture behind it, but other than that, we're just using what's already there. So again, we take that people-centered approach and we take that problem-solving approach. What's the problem we're trying to solve, and how can we use 365 to do that for us? It's been a really useful exercise.
Thank you so much, Grant. So just to summarise, because I know everyone probably want to go and get their lunch and get back to work. We're Solutions IT. We can help handhold you, help do the handholding part of onboarding you with your license. If you've already got your license and you want to explore it further, we're here to help too, from penetration testing to education to all of the other different aspects that we've talked about today. We're here to help. Thank you everyone for your time today. Is there any questions? If so, I've just seen a question here. Let's just have a look at this question. Sorry, it's just popped up. Does Microsoft deliver free in-person generic community education sessions for the not-for-profit sector, and on how they can access Office 365? I don't know if Microsoft do that. Maybe that's a question for Philip, but I know that it's something
Sarah,
that we
I can comment on that. We don't deliver it. We do provide a range of learning services on learn.microsoft.com to help to educate the community on how to use the products at a user level. One of the great things in Teams, if you hit the help button, I don't know, and many people that don't see to hit the help button, but down the bottom left in Teams, you can hit help button and it gives you video education on how to use the products. But in terms of in-person, which I think is what this question is, we work with meetups. Do you know meetups.com? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Please have a look at www.meetup.com. And we don't lead, but we support a number of communities under the Meetup program by bringing our engineering teams, our local constituent employees into those environments to talk about a range of subjects. The usage of Teams is one of the meetup communities. M365, there's meetup communities around that. Azure, there's meetup communities on that. And they often do provide that education service, that collaboration, that networking, that sharing service that many organisations do seek. So no, we don't deliver it as a free in-person, but we do absolutely support our community in delivering the same.
Lovely, thank you.
Just as we support you as non-profits to do the fine work you do.
Lovely. Well, if there's no more questions, I'd just like to thank you both, Grant and Phil, for your time today. That was really insightful. And for those of you on the call, we'll be sending out the link to the recording so you can share it with your colleagues later. Thank you very much and hope you all have a great rest of your day.